Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery joins us now. Admiral, welcome back. How do you think this operation's going? You heard the briefing with Dan Kane. You heard the briefing with Secretary Hegseth. What do you think?
I'm impressed. Right? They started out with a 900 strike first day. That's aggressive, and that's what having 200 Israeli strike fighter planes alongside almost 200 American strike fighter planes and the Tomahawks launched from ships and the ATACMS launched from land and some Lucas independent drones. So that's a lot of strike. And it allowed you to do more than one very important thing at once. So the very, very important one, strike the leadership compound during the meeting, which is why we had a daytime strike. Critical. Obviously, mission accomplished there in terms of getting the number one guy and 4 or 5 of the top 10 guys with him. Number 2, suppression of enemy air defense, so everything else gets through. That happens almost simultaneously with the first strike. And then number 3, beginning to pick off the ballistic missiles that are fielded, out there, ready to launch at U.S. forces in Iran. And clearly that's partially accomplished. And we knew that's a multi-week campaign. If you want to reduce their ability to fire ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones at the United States forces and Israel and our Arab allies, we are going to have to strike them for 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how far back we want to rubbleize them.
Yeah, we got to stop. We got to stop the launchers, right? And do you think it's an accurate number? Short range missiles, 2,500, 1,500 long range. Do you buy that number? We've taken out 200 launchers so far, and they've launched. They think starting today about 300 of those rockets.
So there's launchers and there's stowage units. So I think we probably hit more missiles total than the number you'll hear launchers plus those fired. But I think I would go with a number like 40% attrition, either attrition or launched so far. So a lot more to go. But I'd go beyond that. I should have mentioned, Brian, I would really, what the Israelis wanted to do after day 12, in which we kind of cut them off from, I would deeply hit the missile production and the secondary and tertiary supply chain facilities. I mean, there needs to be, that's why this is 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, 2 weeks.
We'll unfreeze you, hopefully. Yeah, we might have lost. We're just going to get him right back up. Okay, we got you back. Okay, we do. Yeah,
sorry. 2 to 4 to 6 weeks is what I would say. 2 weeks to get the stuff they got, and 4 to 6 weeks the stuff they wish they had. The future stuff, and we really got to get the drones as well.
So a lot of them are in the ground, and that's what the B-2s did, correct? They want those great distances. This time, instead of blowing up nuclear facilities, they're trying to blow up the in-ground facilities, correct?
Correct. And they can do that every night, just set the clock to it. Different pilots, different planes, launch and go. We can move beyond B-2s if we want to as well and use B-1s and B-52s if desired. I'd keep it with B-2s for a while, just because you don't want to lose a plane with a lot of strategic value, but we can do this every night.
So they're hitting the Gulf states. They've gone after Qatar a lot, dozens of times. They are enraged. Saudi Arabia got hit this morning, at least the morning my time, and then UAE got hit immediately, and Kuwait's been on the target list. So do you believe they're not hitting our bases necessarily? They seem to be hitting civilian targets, hotels, and other things. Do you think that's intentional, or is that the lack of sophistication among their weaponry? What are they doing?
So I'd add a third one in, debris from an actual intercept that then hits them. I did see one of those. There's this good video of a spiraling ballistic missile that hits a port facility that was, big, huge fire from the fuel. I
think Bahrain, right?
Yeah, and so, yes, in Bahrain. And so, but they are hitting some of those are clear drones into hotel building, 13th floor. I'm sorry, that's intentional. The second one is just we were trying to get a ballistic missile near a military facility, and your hotel happened to be nearby. And the third is, but you're accountable for that. And the third is debris, and you're accountable for that. So if I was an Arab state, I'd be mad. And I'll bet the UAE, United Arab Emirates, is this close, Brian, to conducting offensive operations. They despise the Iranians more than any other state. I really think they're this close to joining us.
Admiral, it's interesting. They were having a war of words with Saudi Arabia, but they put that, as soon as they were hit, Saudi Arabia said, I got your back. So the Gulf states have something in common. Admiral, I can't believe, being on the air in 9/11 when those planes hit, I cannot believe we're in a situation where those states, whether it's Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt to a degree, and Jordan has both been there, and perhaps Syria eventually. They're talking about economies. They're talking about they're talking about trade deals, and they're talking about. We're not talking about terror in their midst. Don't you feel as though the Middle East is making progress, and the upside to Iran no longer being this bastion of terror could help accelerate that?
100%. I mean, Iran is it was like the scorpion, riding around on the frog's back there, really ready to ruin it for everyone. And they still might, by the way, with mining the Straits of Hormuz. But this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity eventually for the Abraham Accords to grow and include Saudi Arabia. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but there is opportunity here. Clearly, our support for this differentiates us from China and Russia, who armed Iran, right? And that was the other option. So I think this really brings together Israel, the Arab states, and the United States in a coalition, committed to removing the Iranian autocracy.
Admiral, how do we get the enriched uranium? How do we get the uranium out of there? I know we buried it on the strike on Midnight Hammer, but how do we go about that?
That's going to have to be that will have to be after there's a change in how either regime change or a change in how the regime approaches nuclear weapons because of where it is. I mean, you're going to need some consent to get to secure, hold, and remove. That is not something you send a couple of soft guys in to scoop up in a bag and pull out. That's going to have to be done by professionals.
Okay, we'll see how that goes. So I'm not sure that Israel is that upset that Hezbollah got involved. Now, all of a sudden, really? You want to start this now? And I believe that the IRGC, last week I read the IRGC is so frustrated with Hezbollah's slow pace in rebuilding, they basically took it over and started reorganizing. And maybe the word came out from who was left in Iran, start distracting the Israelis, send some rockets in. So they sent about 5 in, including some drones last night. And now the Israelis are hitting back hard. So you agree with me on that?
I do. I hope this is just like a 2-day, like a quickie, because look, Israel, in Israel's mind, hey, they could do this, then go back to Iran. The problem is they don't know Donald Trump's when he pulls the cord on this. So they want to do as much damage as they can in Iran while they can. They can always come back and hit Lebanon whenever they want. I think they did something quickly to say stop. And then in the meantime, go ahead. And they do have some airplanes that are probably better configured, F-16s and such, better configured for handling Lebanon than Iran, range-wise and everything. So, but it does limit them. So, do a little bit of spanking of Hezbollah, put a marker down, I'm coming back, continue to hammer Iran, then come back to Lebanon when President Trump calls ceasefire.
Admiral, how does this end? What is a successful ending in Admiral Mark Montgomery's mind?
Well, in my mind, it is that there is activism starts up again. The people are in the streets, protests. The problem is when we did this in 2011 in Libya or 1919 in Kosovo, air-only campaigns, you had to have an armed,
international peacekeeping force on the ground. I remember that.
The former army, the KLA in Kosovo, the former army guys in Libya. We don't have that right now. So this is going to be tough. And I am worried about the Straits of Hormuz. General Keene's right. We sunk their Navy. But the way they dump mines can be like a couple bog hammers, and Brian and Mark go out and push them out the back. I mean, these guys are not doing Geneva Convention mining, right? They're, so, and then there's this group in London called the Joint War Council that says, okay, it's listed, no one can go through there, and suddenly Straits of Hormuz. Again, that's the scorpion biting the frog because the Iranians need the straits open as well, but they might do that.
All right. Exciting times, Admiral. We know this enemy has been going after us for decades. I know that's been part of your portfolio forever in your profession, your admiral life, and now we're addressing it directly. And I think the president's tackling all of the nation's biggest challenges head on. And our Secretary of War has done a fantastic job along with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But I guess there could be hard days ahead. We could be talking in a week and there could be some difficult days. But the objective is needed. And I think anyone who puts some time in and puts politics aside has to see it that way. I just want to see your thoughts on this.
100%. And I really want, Kane and Hegseth sounded great this morning, but they said the truth. This needs to be 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, not pull the plug too soon. I know the president likes to find, he doesn't want guys dying in forever wars. I get that. But this is one of the things that's going to require 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, depending how far back you want to push them. And if you're going to get the kids out in the streets again, I think it needs to be more the 4 to 6 week version. But we can really end the missile, drone, and nuclear threat from Iran with a longer campaign. And I hope we have the structure to do it. General Kane sounded that way, Brian.
And for those people who think Israel's behind it, read the Washington Post. It was Saudi Arabia and UAE pushing for us to do this. Trump's got their trust going in, and now he really has it today. Admiral Mark Montgomery, thanks so much.
See you. Thanks for having me.
You got it.